So Arsenal finishing this game 1-0. They advanced 4-2 on aggregate, bringing that 3-2 lead from the first leg. Stuart Robson was watching for us today. It's Arsenal booking their spot in the final. What are your takeaways from this game, Stuart?
Well, you just summed it up with the highlights package there. There wasn't too many highlights. It was a strange approach by both teams. I mean, Arsenal, I thought, would come out all guns blazing, but they didn't. They just kept the ball at the back and kept it in midfield. There was no forward runners. Chelsea came out thinking, well, we're going to keep it tight and we're going to play 5 at the back. We might press every so often and stop Arsenal scoring. So it was a stalemate in the first half. There was hardly any shots on goal. It was all played at a very slow tempo. It was all about possession football. There was not enough forward runs from either side, not enough forward passes. So it really drifted. And if anything, Chelsea had the better chances in the second half without having a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. They had a couple of moments when the midfield player, Fernandes, got on the ball. He had 3 shots from sort of just outside the box, which could have flashed into the top corner if he'd hit them well. But overall, it was a fairly tame game. Chelsea, I've seen them under Rosenior, and there's a lot of talk about what a great job he's done. And he's done an okay job. But there's been times when there's been an absolute shambles in the first half of games. They were against West Ham, they were against Napoli, and then he's had to make changes, and they've played better. Today, they defended quite well. They stopped Arsenal really playing without Arsenal really posing too many threats. But they didn't have enough in the front areas, and they didn't show enough guile, they didn't show enough determination to go and get at Arsenal and get the win they needed. And he did some strange things. Delap played out on the right wing, a centre forward. We thought he'd play up front with João Pedro. He played out on the right wing. I have to say, it wasn't an enjoyable game to watch, and Kai Havertz just scored when they were in the very last minute of the game. So not a great game, I wouldn't say.
What did you think of it, Stevie?
Well, it's a semi-final, and at the end of the day, semi-finals are not about playing silky soccer, it's about getting a result. And at the end of the day, again, you have to say that Chelsea were the team that had to get the result because Arsenal had gotten themselves ahead from the first leg. So the onus really is in Chelsea. And Arsenal, we've complained all season that they found it hard to break teams down, and they couldn't break Chelsea down in the first half. But again, at the end of the day, if you're ahead in the tie and you're the one pushing the game and you just can't break through, you're going through, you're winning at the end of when the final whistle goes. So to me, this, particularly the second half, was on Chelsea. You know, if you want to keep it tight like they did, and then you want to bring on your Palmers and Estavals, but you got to bring them on at half time. You got to do part of the job in the first half, and in the second half, you've got to give yourself time to win the game. You know, there's no point in bringing the cavalry on with 15, 20 minutes to go and then run out of time. That doesn't make any sense. So, listen, if I'm Arsenal, I couldn't care less that I didn't play any great type of football to watch. But we won the game, and if you're Chelsea, it's a semi-final. You've missed out on playing at Wembley in a cup final, possibly because the manager was a little too scared to begin with and didn't give you enough time to actually win the game in the second half.
It was a weird game. It was a weird feeling to the game. In that, yes, Chelsea has a responsibility because they need to win the game, and yet they're, at least in the first half, they seem to be far more conservative and they were just concerned to, hey, let's get it to halftime at 0s and see if we can do something in the second half. Whereas Arsenal, I think they felt, and we feel, they're the better team, and it's almost as if because they're the better team, they have to go and create something, but they don't feel all that comfortable doing it. And so it became a whole lot of nothing in this match. So when Robert calls it tame, I'll call it boring. Boring is what it was. It was just in the middle third. It's missed passes, set pieces. It's the only thing that gives you drama when you're Arsenal. There was certainly a shout for a penalty kick on João Pedro at the back post where Saliba is just grabbing him to the ground. That wasn't given. That may have changed the dynamics of the game or the personality of the game. Middle third nonsense, fouls, stoppages, complaining to the referee, booing from the crowd. Nothing of quality to actually see on the field, and not that they're here to entertain us, because Arsenal, all they want to do is get through to the next round. But Chelsea never really pushed. Yeah, there were a couple of things here and there, but never really actually pushed Arsenal to a situation of being under pressure, kind of hanging on, grinding. That wasn't the case. Chelsea wasn't strong enough offensively, and Arsenal did just enough.
And then obviously it was Kai Havertz scoring the winning goal in this game, Robbo, and that starts a whole new conversation, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does, because Gyökeres once again, he did okay. But there was in the commentary, the commentator said he's touched the ball once in the first 30 minutes. That says that he either wasn't making enough runs, they weren't looking forward enough, which was probably both right. But you want him to be more involved in the game. He's got to run the channels. He's got to be stronger when the ball was played up to him. When the ball went the other way, João Pedro did more than Gyökeres did. Gyökeres, it doesn't seem to be able to hold the ball up at the moment and bring others into play, whereas João Pedro did it quite often for Chelsea. So there's still some work that he needs to do. Jesus didn't come on, and Kai Havertz came on. He was only on for 10 minutes or so and obviously scored the goal. But last year we were saying he wasn't a good enough centre-forward. Are we still saying that Gyökeres hasn't replaced him well enough, and maybe Kai Havertz plays at centre-forward again? That's the reason we said that Arsenal didn't win the title last year, because they didn't have a proper centre-forward. They've got a centre-forward at the moment, and they've bought for a lot of money that's not quite at the races.
Are we picking on Gyökeres here?
No, not at all. He's been given 6 months. Basically, Mikel Arteta has said, right, you've got 6 months to separate yourself from Jesus, Havertz, Marino, anybody else who thinks they can play through the middle. I'm going to give you this. He's had probably, 20-odd games?
Well, it felt like you were one of the people defending him more on this panel
I was
as well.
trying to defend him to begin with, because the way Arsenal played doesn't exactly help a centre-forward with balls in the box early. But I still thought that he was good enough to score goals. And I thought he was good enough to actually try and, get some goals for himself out of nothing. But the answer right now is he hasn't been able to do any of those things. And so he hasn't been able to separate himself from the other three that I told you about. And so if you're Mikel Arteta, you're actually, before every game now, you're going, right, who do we start as centre-forward? Is Jesus fit enough now? Is Havertz fit enough now? Do we play Marino? Or do we play Gyökeres? I mean, that's what's going through Arteta's head right now.
That heat map that we show there from Gyökeres is embarrassing. 70 minutes, 69 minutes that he played. 10 touches, only 1 completed pass. And while I understand that Arsenal are not a team that play through the center forward, the heat map itself tells you that the movement isn't exactly all that sharp or abundant, for that matter. That's embarrassing, Stevie. 10 touches in 69 minutes.
I mean, the centre-forward, he's only got 1 touch in the penalty box.
Well, yes, and he's nowhere near around the penalty box. And look, I think sometimes as a center forward, you get frustrated by the lack of service, and that frustration amounts to you stop making the runs. And that's the worst thing that you can do as a player, because you cannot lose sight of the fact that you can be useful to the team in other ways. And while I advocate for center forwards to be patient, to allow the game to come to them, to not force the touches. If you have touched the ball once in the first 30 minutes, I'm going to the center back and give me a ball, give me a touch. I want to feel what this is like. Can I please touch the ball one time? Let me participate in the game, because I need to feel alive here. You guys are leaving me for dead. And that, I think, speaks to the inactivity of Gyökeres, and you see it in the heat map. There isn't a whole lot of movement. It's one thing to not to be touching the ball, but the movement, and you put those things together, and that's an embarrassing heat map to look at.
He actually probably has gone, or should be going to the back of the queue, because we're talking about Arsenal not being a team that puts the ball in the box for a centre-forward. So that means that if that's not happening, as a player, you have to contribute somewhere else. And clearly, he's not contributing anywhere else. Whereas you look at Jesus or Havertz, in particular those two, outside the box they absolutely contribute. So I said he hasn't separated himself. He actually might be at the bottom of the pile right now.
Robbo, Arsenal play Sunderland on Saturday. Who starts at centre forward?
I think he'll probably go with Jesus if he's fit, because he's a confidence player, Jesus, and he's scored several goals recently. He looks quite sharp. He looks hungry. He looks as though he's got his confidence back. We go back to Gyökeres. Is there anything that Gyökeres? I mean, he's okay at a lot of things, but is he better in the air than Marino? Is he better in the air than Havertz? Is he quicker than Jesus? Is he better at holding the play up than Havertz or Marino or Jesus? I don't think he is. So there's not one aspect of his game that you say, we've got to hang our hat on that and we're going to put him in the side. So I think if he's fit, Jesus, a confidence player, has been in goal-scoring form recently, I think he starts the game.
OK, so we do know that it will be Newcastle or Man City that they face in the final of the Carabao Cup. That's how things are looking so far in that tie at City with the 2-0 lead. And on Wednesday, they will try to see it out.